From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Monday morning. It's 5 o'clock. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thank you for starting your day with us. Our top story this morning. Today, Yellowstone County health leaders will announce new restrictions on residents and businesses in an effort to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Expected changes include a group gathering limit of 25 people. Bars and restaurants will be capped at 50% capacity, and if they serve alcohol, they'll have to close at 10 p.m. Churches and places of worship will only be allowed to fill 25% of their buildings. The new rules are being put in place because of the infection rate here in the county. Right now, for every 100,000 Yellowstone County residents, 50 have the virus. That's making things difficult for local hospitals, which are 90% full.
If we continue at this pace, we're expecting in the next 2 to 4 weeks, 150 to 200 more hospitalizations. This is our reality. Billings Clinic, and I know our partner SCL St. Vincent's, we're not going to shut down, but the reality is we're stretched.
The restrictions will be officially announced at a press conference at 2 o'clock this afternoon. You can watch it live on Q2's Facebook page. Meanwhile, the Crow tribe is dealing with a high number of COVID-19 infections, yet received $0 in coronavirus relief funds from the state. 7 other Montana tribes did, and Chairman A.J. Notafrate claims the Crow tribe was left out because they endorsed Republicans for the 2020 election. Governor Steve Bullock has the power to distribute relief money, and Notafrate endorsed his opponent, Senator Steve Daines, in the high-profile Senate race. Bullock's office says the race had nothing to do with the lack of funding, instead claiming the tribe never applied for any grants. A spokesman says money is set aside for the tribe if they choose to submit an application. And results are in for the Crow tribe's primary election. A.J. Notafrate is the only incumbent moving on to the general election. He'll be challenged by Frank Whiteclay in November. Paul Hill and Lawrence DeCrane will vie for vice chairman. In the secretary race, Vice Secretary Sean Backbone and Levi Black Eagle will face off. Janice Whiteman and Yvonne Little Light Medicine Tail Jr. are the vice secretary candidates. The Crow general election is November 7th. Well, now it's time to get a checkup weather with Ed. Good morning. Thanks for being here. We want to know, will there be more wind today? Because that was insane yesterday.
Yes, there will be more wind.
There
today.
you have it, everyone. Hold on to your hats and your leaves, too.
Okay.
That's the point. That's like near impossible to hold on to those leaves.
Yeah, the leaves just, you try to clean up a little bit and then they just come right back again. 44 at the airport right now. The winds aren't a big deal in Billings at the moment, but they'll increase later in the day. Temperatures are mainly in the 40s in western Montana and 30s across the eastern plains to get started, where we got some breaks in the clouds. Yesterday, you talked about the insane winds, 46 miles per hour at Billings, 56 in Miles City, 57 was the top wind gust we could find of the major reporting stations up in Williston yesterday. Now this morning, we're starting off again into the mountain foothills. Livingston, not a big surprise. The winds have been up and down. Right now sustained to 25, gusting to 45, and that's actually a little lighter than they were just a short time ago. Temperatures are holding up pretty well, though. We're mainly into the 30s, 40s here across southern Montana and northern Wyoming to get going today. So the afternoon will be typical temperatures, but a mix of clouds and sun. What isn't showing up there is a lot of wind to go along with all that. We'll explain the outlook for the rest of the week coming up in a few minutes.
Hey, things need to turn around for us. I think I'm going to start playing lottery based on your forecast. I'll do the combined temperature high with the wind speed for the day.
And then you figure the Powerball.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
All right, I'll get back to the news. Thanks, Ed. A series of hearings for President Trump's Supreme Court Justice nominee get underway today. And even before Judge Amy Coney Barrett takes the oath before the Senate Judiciary Committee, there are growing calls to delay that nomination process. As CNN's Brett Conway reports, lawmakers on both sides are clashing over this contentious process just weeks before the November election.
President Trump's Supreme Court Justice nominee is gearing up for a grilling on Capitol Hill. Ahead of Monday's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, lawmakers spent the weekend calling for delaying any hearing to fill the vacancy until after the election.
2 Republican senators have said they're not going to participate in this farce. If 2 more join them, then it's game over.
Democrats also taking issue with Judge Amy Coney Barrett's position on key issues.
It's rushed, it constitutes court packing, and her views are too extreme to qualify her to serve on this court.
The hearing comes just 10 days after 2 Republican members of the Senate Judiciary Committee tested positive for COVID-19. But Republicans are vowing to move forward.
I think they are looking for anything to delay things even a day or 2 or 3. And I think that Senate Republicans will follow the guidance, the medical guidance of the Capitol physician.
Despite the growing calls, Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham says he's moving full speed ahead with the nomination, sparking precautionary moves from some Democrats. This weekend, New York Senator Chuck Schumer demanded Judge Barrett recuse herself from certain cases if she's confirmed to the high court.
Given Judge Barrett's conflicts of interest, she should recuse herself from any decision involving the Affordable Care Act and its protections, and any decision related to the election.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Judge Barrett's opening statement to the Senate Judiciary Committee was released in advance of the hearing. She's expected to focus on how her family, faith, and her mentor, the late Justice Antonin Scalia, influenced her opportunity to be nominated to the Supreme Court. President Trump claims he is now immune from the coronavirus. However, it's not yet known how long immunity from COVID-19 might last after a patient is infected. In a memo, the White House physician said the president is no longer considered a transmission risk to others and does not need to self-isolate. The president plans to hold a rally near Orlando, Florida tonight. It's his first event away from the White House since he was released from the hospital almost a week ago. With the clean bill of health, President Trump wants to debate Democrat challenger Joe Biden this week, and he wants to do it in person. The president is urging the Commission on Presidential Debates to put the second matchup back on the schedule. It was supposed to take place Thursday, but then President Trump tested positive for COVID-19. So far, he's refused to participate in a virtual event. Biden's campaign now has him booked for a town hall on Thursday. The president also plans to hold a town hall that night if an in-person debate is not possible. Well, some are still concerned mail voting will lead to tainted results in the 2020 election, but even in 2016, more than 33 million ballots were cast by mail. That's 1/4 of all the votes that year. Reporter Ashar Qureshi sought out the facts when it comes to getting ballots counted accurately.
In case you were wondering, voting by mail has been in place for more than 150 years, since the Civil War.
It's become so common in the United States that since 2010, about 1/4 of the electorate has voted by mail in federal elections.
Some states have what's known as a universal vote-by-mail system, which means they mail ballots to all their voters. But in most states, voters must request an absentee ballot.
Most of them have made exceptions for 2020 because of COVID. And so what we have left is only a handful of states where you need an excuse to vote by mail.
According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, normally 34 states and Washington, D.C. allow no excuse absentee mailed ballot voting. 5 automatically mail ballots to all their voters, and specifically for 2020, at least 4 more have done the same. But what about fraud?
The mail ballots are corrupt, in my opinion, and they collect them and they get people to go in and sign them, and then they're forgeries in many cases. It's a horrible thing.
Experts say not so. While there have been a few examples of fraud committed in mail voting, in modern history, studies indicate it's not common at all.
Exceptionally rare. The chances of somebody committing fraud in mail voting is about the same as somebody getting struck by lightning.
What is more common? Rejection. According to the Brennan Center, during the midterm elections nationwide, more than 430,000 mailed ballots were rejected due to delays, minor defects, and voter errors. In some states, rejected ballots affected minorities at higher rates than white voters.
Do it early so you can avoid the kind of last-minute complications that sometimes we've seen. The number one reason that mail ballots don't count is because people get them in late.
Even with the vote-by-mail expansion, there are still variations in deadlines and rules. Experts say it's important to make sure you follow your state's specific requirements. I'm Ashar Qureshi reporting.
And in states where the polls are still open, there's a shortage of volunteers. CBS's Michael George introduces us to some Americans stepping up to help.
If you've gone to a polling place, you've seen them. They're the people who prepare the location, check in voters, and answer your questions. They're volunteers like Michael Casera.
This is my first time volunteering as a poll worker.
Michael, a casting director living in New York, wanted to give back. He knows there's a shortage of poll workers nationwide, and COVID is the main reason. According to a 2018 study, more than half of poll workers are 61 or older. Longtime poll worker and North Carolina resident B. Cheryl was told the exposure to so many other people would be too risky for her.
I decided that my doctor would have a voice in it. When I raised the question with him, his face immediately said no.
Many states are running campaigns to recruit more volunteers, including Ohio.
The bare minimum that we need is 37,000 just to open the polls on Election Day.
Dr. Ann Arthur Andrew is one of thousands who heard the call and signed up to help.
This seemed like something that the average person could really do and make a contribution.
For Michael Casera, it's been a first-hand look at how elections work at a time when there's so much misinformation about voter fraud.
I do have more confidence in the system after seeing this process. It seemed secure, it seemed like a well-oiled machine, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
A new generation of poll volunteers who will play a key role in democracy on Election Day. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Also making headlines this morning, the number of coronavirus cases in the U.S. is rising faster than we've seen in weeks. 50,000 plus new infections have been reported every day since Wednesday. Hospitalizations spiked in 41 states and deaths are up in 18 states. Health experts warn fall and winter could bring an explosion of new cases as Americans exercise less caution and spend more time indoors. But CDC officials continue to tout mask wearing. In Arizona, there's been a 75% drop in cases after the state put a mask mandate in place. In Louisiana, many people are starting the week by cleaning up after another big storm. Hurricane Delta hit areas still recovering from the deadly Hurricane Laura, which passed through about 6 weeks ago. Thousands are returning home to piles of debris and destroyed houses. Georgia, Virginia, and the Carolinas also saw devastation from Delta. The storm was even blamed for a train derailment near Atlanta. Hurricane Delta was the 10th to hit the U.S. this season, breaking a record set in 1916. Gas prices could start to go up as a result of the rough hurricane season. Industry analysts say the storm damage could impact oil production. However, with fuel demand down amid the pandemic, the increase may not be too high. Right now, the average price of gas in the U.S. is $2.25 a gallon. The San Francisco Bay Area is seeing the highest gas prices right now, while Houston is seeing the lowest. Back here in Montana, the historic Bunkhouse Inn in Augusta was destroyed by a fire over the weekend. It was built in 1912, and locals said it gave the visitors the experience of staying in the Old West. The fire started Saturday afternoon and took firefighters until early Sunday morning to put out the flames. Everyone made it out safely, but a firefighter suffered a minor eye injury. The cause of the fire is still under investigation, and no nearby structures were damaged. And a reminder, we kick off Pink Week a week from today with the St. Vincent Healthcare mobile mammography coach right here at Q2. Appointments are still being accepted. To schedule, call 237-4373. They will be here on Monday, October 19th from 7:30 to 3:30. Mammograms are recommended for women 40 and older and are covered by most insurance plans. And they want to make sure everyone gets on board, so anyone without insurance can reach out and ask about their financial assistance programs.